perhaps they can still turn around.
And Mixi, a wonderful Vox. It matches his personality and play style very nicely. We'll see Echo Vox. We'll see how they can perform here. And what do you think is going to happen now?
So something that no one has actually talked about yet is that Vox got a slight CP buff. So if we see NRG running something such as triple melee or a comp that's not very mobile, that can't split very much in team fights, we could still see Echo Fox going for that CP Vox. I want to see their last pick. I didn't get a chance to see it. It's Sky. So that could actually just tell us that Vox is going to be weapon power, because Sky most likely going to be running CP, mostly going to be coming out of the jungle. Very strong comp coming out of Echo Fox. They have the triple range, they have the kiting comp, they have the stronger early game with Lyra and Vox in lane. It's really hard for NRG to turn this draft around, and it's going to be very hard for them to execute a win condition against this comp.
Clearly a strength of Echo Fox, the drafting, especially in this double ban format. NRG, we'll see what they're doing. They're in the bonus time, they're thinking about it. They're talking about it here. And just stepping back now, looking at Echo Fox's comp. What do you want to see from them? The combinations or the plays that they make? What does a good team fight look like for Echo Fox with that comp?
Well, what I want to see from them first, before they even get into the team fighting phase, I want them to pressure the early game very hard, because they have the tools to do it. They have the Lyra, they have the Vox who can shove in Ringo, the last pick that we see coming out of NRG. I'm assuming that Blackfoot is going to be CP, because they're going to be running Ringo, unless they're going to run Ringo CP, which is still possible, but unlikely. The last pick gives a little bit of a strength over to NRG, because now they can dive and pick one.
Taking quite a significant chunk of damage, even through the Vanguard, as Lone Delphi was on the other side of the wall. Mixi's being quite strong in the sense that he's farming well. You know, that he's being bought a lot of space by the other members of Echo Fox. I think NRG, I would have expected them to have a bit more pressure already, to be honest.
Well, I mean, okay, so Vox versus Ringo. Ringo has a range advantage, and he's going to take a little bit of damage from the bouncing attacks coming out of Vox. But when Cole steps up with that Lyra and he starts throwing some attacks out at the Ringo, he's outranging the Ringo. He's also simultaneously throwing out a heal for Mixi, for himself, and it's almost too much to deal with unless Chombo's just sitting there hanging out with him as well.
But this is the thing, right? Like, we've been seeing the captains sitting in the lane, hanging out with the laners. This game, NRG and Echo Fox to an extent have been spending a little bit more time with their captains, hovering between the jungle and the lane. I mean,
that comes from the strength of the Sky, right? Like, Sky is legitimately a strong hero to deal with in the early levels. Like I said, if you get target lock on you and Forward Barrage does start to connect, you can get wrecked. And so Hardek has to respect that, and that means that Chombo has to be ready to rotate at a moment's notice.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Mixi does get jumped on yet again, but Cold Meek right there in time to help out. Actually, they win the trade. You got to remember, Echo Fox has sustain, but NRG has the ability to actually defend against something with the Vanguard, right? So in a trade where there's not a commitment, Echo Fox probably come out ahead, but the straight-up defense at the beginning of a fight from like a Vanguard from NRG, that can be very strong if you commit.
Gaspy's doing incredibly well. I think Gaspy is also a player that we want to keep our eyes on. This guy, he's had a live tournament experience. He's played for a couple different squads, but really a very talented guy. He was actually able to get to shop, get back to lane, and have a CS advantage before Mixi could.
And I know you're a big fan of Gaspy, right? I remember us talking about this during the Evil 8 broadcast last year when he first came onto the scene. You were like, man, this guy, got a lot of respect for him. You think he's going to do well.
That's because he was the first Vainglorious player to let me into the party with him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Well, it must feel good now that you can play with a few more of those. Big Treant being taken down here, the Elder Treant by Echo Fox. You see, a little bit late to the party here. NRG did make their way down. Are they going to do something with this opportunity? Trying to find that slow, perhaps onto Echo Fox, but Delphi just jumping in the way, finding the forward barrage damage. I'm not sure. I didn't quite catch who picked up the Treant there. I think it was NRG,
I think
right?
Gaspy was able to grab that one right there.
Ah, there we go. So, not a bad invade. You know, they got some gold. They managed to get the regen, which helps them maybe push a little bit. And they force Echo Fox to take the long way around, which means they get a push as well.
This is a great early game for NRG. I mean, it really is. For all the reasons we talked about.
Whoa, that's a lot of damage on the Mixi. Gaspy already starting to lay down the pain, and Delphi not finding the forward barrage there means that they've burned a lot of energy and opportunity cost in order to do not very much.
I mean, Echo Fox are incredibly strong, but a lot of the conditions to win these engagements start with an if.
Oh, absolutely. And if Hardek can steal this, he doesn't manage to get it, but the kill goes the way of NRG as they find Mixi. They're looking for a little bit more as Hardek comes in with Gatsby, Chombo on the back line. Can they find any more? Delphi actually going to be the main target here for Gatsby. And see, Delphi tries to turn around, but Chombo's there to body block. Koldemeek, he's got no way out of here. No arcane passage yet. The Crystal Sentry's doing some serious work to Hardek, though. That forces out the Fountain. I wonder if they're going to be able to take down... Yeah, they are going to get the Crystal Sentry as well. So, quite a big advantage accrued there for NRG. You were talking about the early game. There it is.
Yeah, they're doing incredibly well. I think also, you know, who's kind of sitting on the back line and making these things happen? Chombo. He's also giving his team the confidence to get in there and make these plays. And that's a huge thing, having the confidence in your captain. Like Hardek said when he was sitting up here talking about his team, he's like, I mean, I expect Chombo to be in there and backing me up, right? Like, that was his sentiment. He says that he believes in Chombo playing this this captain role, and right now it's showing.
Absolutely is. Echo Fox are making their way up to the lane, but Mixi is already extremely low, and Gatsby is just chunking through members of Echo Fox.
Did you see that? Like, it was like preemptive Vanguard right there. Like, he expected it to come out. It came out a half second later. It was beautiful.
And this is what I was talking about, defense versus sustain. You want to lead the fight with that defense. Hardek does manage to get out of there with the Rose offensive, avoiding the stun from the death from above as the rest of Echo Fox move in, try and get some more poke damage down. In the more extended back and forth tradey style fights, Echo Fox will be able to get that sustain advantage to really show up.
Yep.
Question is, can NRG engage before it's too late? You can see already with Gatsby's energy and health being so low, this might be the opportunity for Echo Fox to get some pressure down.
Tough situation, right? Because if Gatsby teleports out and they see that, they're going to go ahead and pressure the turret. But if he hangs around, he can't actually fully engage into one of these fights. So it puts him in a weird situation. Echo Fox looks like they want to go ahead and just take objectives off the map.
So we got to talk a little bit about Hardek, right? Because formerly, obviously, he was on Nemesis Hydra, then Cloud9. He was a laner for a very long time. And a lot, again, you know, these Vainglory commentators, right? We were talking about the fact that it seemed as though he would fall behind in lane, he'd come back later on, and he really needed someone like I Love Joseph, his former teammate, to get him over the hump, you know, to make sure that there was that steadiness in the early game. Now that Hardek's in the jungle, he's kind of more of the pace setter. He's working with Chombo now to set that pace for Gatsby. And I'm curious about whether you think this dynamic fits him quite as well.
Oh, I definitely do. I like, actually, I think that's a really good question, Jackson. And the whole idea with Hardek is a lot of times he was actually up in that lane and trying to make shot calls about the game, right? So talk about setting the pace. If he's able to rotate out of the jungle, let his laner know, hey, this is where our opponent jungler is. Hey, we should take a fight. Let's back off. I think it works for him really well here.
Yeah, I have to admit, I like the change too. Just want to get your thoughts as Hardek goes in yet again. That's going to be the Gauntlet landing onto Koldemeek. NRG have forced out the Fountain as Echo Fox have to run away. NRG might be able to get some vision control off the back of this if Chombo picks up a few more scout traps.
Yeah, Delphi able to reflex out of that Gauntlet, so a nice job there. But Chombo, that was right on point. This is a very good Gauntlet, and you know, our analyst was talking about maybe a little bit surprised seeing Arden come out as their first pick, but with plays like that, you can see why.
Yeah, and one big advantage that someone like Chombo has, and NRG by that virtue have, coming into this tournament is that he's a bit more of an unknown quantity, right? So when someone first comes on the scene, like, who's their signature hero? Who do you need to ban against them? Who are they godlike on?
Right.
Maybe Chombo has Arden as that pick. I wouldn't say we know yet, but certainly we're seeing indications.
No, we're definitely seeing those indications. And Chombo, like every player that's playing at the highest level of Vainglory, they all know who Chombo is, right? So like as a viewer, maybe you haven't seen Chombo before, but like every guy out there that you respect and know as a high level player knows who this guy is and respect him.
All right, Koldemeek going to be showing some respect to NRG as he backs away right now. Got to be very careful with the engage. Gatsby going for that ultimate. Lands it with the splash damage onto two people. Echo Fox got to be very careful filtering into this choke point right now. All the slows coming out. NRG want more, but Delphi jumps back in, trying to maybe mind game them. Hardek onto the back line with that Rose offensive. Picks up one kill. Mixi, the stutter step, not going to be enough.
Oh, man.
And with a Fountain coming out, NRG take 2 kills and another Crystal Sentry.
You know, very similar to how we saw Misfits having engagements early, where the teams that they were beating are the teams where they were realizing, okay, we actually have the advantage, and they pull the trigger immediately. They go in. It's a very quick engage. And you could tell NRG did that right there. They also disengaged for about half a second, and we're right back to it. Their movement as a team looks super clean right now.
I've got to agree. They definitely feel like they're on the same page, and that's something with, you know, a new lineup, you know, a new composition of different players you wouldn't necessarily expect so quickly. That is a huge indication.
Well,
of good
Hardik
energy.
has played with Gatsby in the past, right? Like, these were Nemesis boys, you know, through and through. As you look back, they love to play together, and Chombo definitely fits right into this very well.
Absolutely. You can tell that they've been working a lot together recently is the point that I was making. You know, they're really able to be on the same page like we were talking about.
Definitely.
What are they going to maybe do next, though? I mean, they've accrued an advantage. They're about 2,000 gold in the lead, maybe nearly 3,000 now. But no turrets have gone down. The gold miner is still, you know, up and available. I feel like they've taken a lot of good fights, but they haven't transitioned that into an objective lead yet. So they definitely need to put the pedal to the gas.
Right. Well, there's also the balance, right? And we talked about Echo Fox having a really nice patience earlier, and maybe NRG, you know, not taking advantage of those one fights, but they're also not putting themselves in a position where they can throw away the lead that they've built up. So they haven't made mistakes at this point. I think they're doing just fine. And if you get a clean fight, you take 2 down, probably in the next couple minutes we will see them start to transition into turrets or other objectives.
One thing that I absolutely love about the composition of NRG is how it's very synergistic, right? You see someone, you go in, you're kind of a steamroller, talking about that Delphi diving right into the wall of the Gauntlet. He's already burned the Sturdy Strike, but Hardik is the first to fall. Echo Fox might be able to find a turnaround here. Cole the Meek, Mitchie, they want more, but Gatsby still has a lot of damage.
Gatsby!
They might have bitten off a little bit too much here. Gatsby with the return kill.
Oh,
Echo Fox
man.
got overconfident.
Hellfire.
Oh, Hellfire. That's a decent amount of damage.
Yeah, you got to respect that. He's going to burn down. It does negate a little bit of the healing that Cole was able to throw out there. No kill going to happen, but really nice turnaround from NRG after the fight starting to go poorly. Gatsby in that instance remind me a little bit of like the plays we see out of Zio, right? Like where he knows if I stand my ground, I'm going to be able to get the kill, and a lot of players would have just tried to run away.
So let's talk a little bit about builds. We've talked a lot about the sort of compositions and the players, but Hardik, he's going for this Crystal Power Blackfeather. Really interesting build, right? Like it does something. I think a lot of people when they first see Blackfeather, they're like, oh, he's obviously weapon power. But Crystal does a lot for him. He has a lot of threat there, and I think he's better at setting up teammates when he's Crystal.
Yeah, he handles the region coming out of Echo Fox really well, where we talk about like if they get behind in trades, well then NRG really don't have as much. But Hardik can sit there and he can kind of just poke with its on point, and it does so much damage that if it actually lands, he can take some damage back, but he's going to be just fine. He's really not coming out net negative on that trade.
Absolutely not. Gatsby, also now with 3 Tier 3 items complete, is starting to hit like a truck. McShee not quite as strong yet, I feel. You know, he has got the ability to get there with maybe one more Tyrant's Monocle. He's going to be just crushing people and ramping super fast on his breaking point.
He's in a respectable position right now. As far as his damage output, if he's able to maybe get a couple stacks up on Chombo and switch over to Gatsby very quickly, that'll work great for him.
All right, so where would you like to see, for example, the defensive itemization coming out from these two teams? Where should they go from here? They got the core. What's the spiciness?
As far as defensiveness, I think they have a lot of them. Their basic defense already out here. Immense gold payout going to come out. Another Hellfire Brew. Gatsby. This is kind of like how Von C's one-shot, one-kills would come out when we watch him play as Kestrel. There's just like it comes out almost off cooldown, kind of just like a harassing threat, and it does keep his opponents not at full health.
Yeah, I like the fact that Gatsby isn't really being too precious with the Hellfire Brew, right? Because the thing is, there is this opportunity at any time when you're sort of near-ish to a Lyra that an Arcane Passage is going to come out, everyone's going to filter through it, and one person's immediately going to get popped, especially as McShee gets to the point where he's more and more crit strike and can really just go in there and do a big burst of damage. So I like the fact that they're using things which deter Echo Fox and stop them from just getting that opportunity.
Yeah. I do agree with you on that. As we get into this stage of the game, Jackson, we're about a minute from Kraken spawning here. If these teams are able to take a very clean kill like in the next minute, it's going to be a lot of objectives taken.
Absolutely, and there is the Arcane Passage from Cole the Meek. Had to use that to get away from the catch. Maybe that gives NRG the confidence they need to make something happen here. You can see a lot of damage coming out of Gatsby. Just a couple of basics on the McShee. Hardik also landing a good amount of poke onto Lone Delphi there.
See, the thing is, Hardik, he gets that on point. When it lands, it doesn't matter if some forward barrage hits him because he's going to just soak that damage up. He gets a Vanguard from Chombo, and he's sitting at full health. It's essentially like negating all the healing coming out of Cole.
Absolutely, but Cole is keeping Delphi and Mixi quite healthy. That being said, Mixi walking right into the Gauntlet wall. Is this going to be enough? Hellfire Brew, you're in turret range, Gaspy. Got to be careful. Does manage to pick up that turret, though no one dying on either side. NRG find their first big objective.
Yeah, I mean, that felt like a situation that Echo Fox maybe could have rolled the dice and looked to kill Gaspy, especially because they're sitting on that fountain as well, but they're reserved in their play, so not really changing from last game, still showing that patience, and I think that's just fine for them. Turret goes down, but it's not the end of the world. All right, guys. Well, Hardik just back to his side of the jungle. Hasn't been here for a while, but these guys, they have map control. They seem to have vision in pretty good places across the map, so they shouldn't be caught by surprise anywhere.
And also, I mean, NRG, they're gaining a lot from this control that they have. You know, they're about 4,000 gold in the lead now. That's translating to these item spikes being hit quicker. And also, I love the fact that NRG is saying, we're not just going to hit those spikes quicker, we're also going to buy infusions so that we can capitalize immediately, right? We've got a weapon power Ringo.
Right.
You know, we want to do stuff early in the game. We want to use that strength before, for example, a Crystal Power Sky gets crazy later.
Hardik hopping in there, poking Cole the Meek just a little bit, being cheeky. I like the plays, but they can't get overzealous right now because Lone Delphi is a guy we haven't talked about that much of this game in particular. While he was just having a dominating impact in the last game he played on that Idris, he didn't really get into a snowball position, but his items are starting to come together. This is pretty massive damage that can come out of the sky at this point.
It absolutely is. Kraken is now on the map, has been for about a minute. NRG hasn't found the opportunity to force their vision game around that area in a while, though. So I do think that's something where I would maybe put focus in the next couple of minutes. You know, get those scout traps down, be set up for success, be set up in a position where you can maybe translate back to that Kraken.
Yeah, and Chombo's in a situation right now where he doesn't have an extra item slot, but what he does have is flares. So for him, that's going to be the most important thing. If we're checking any brush here, we're going to throw a flare out, make sure we don't just face check into our opponents, and then maybe they can get some scouts down in due time.
Oh, look at how far they've zoned Mixi away. The Gauntlet going to keep Cole the Meek inside of that cage. Hardik does get taken quite low, though, has to back away.
Nice disengage.
Not the cleanest engage there. I mean, they had the opportunity. I'm not sure they really executed.
It was an opportunity, but you know the thing is, if Cole didn't pull the trigger on that Arcane Passage right there, if he's a half second later on that, he dies. It's that simple. So Cole the Meek makes the right play, he gets out. But that's the level of the competition here for these players, right? Where a lot of times they're just back and forth, perfect play, perfect play, perfect play. When one person makes a mistake, that's when things fall apart.
Absolutely. So, not much is happening in the last couple of minutes. We do have NRG extending their gold lead very modestly as they have slightly better control over the lane, the jungle. They can take more camps. But past a certain point, that gold starts to mean less and less, and it's getting there. It's getting to that point. Delphi has picked up an infusion, as has Gaspy. In fact, Mixi too. Everyone's going for him right around now, so you know these teams are just itching.
I feel Echo Fox are in a good position to take this next fight.
Oh yeah? Okay, so why? Real quick before they do it.
For the reasons I was looking at Lone Delphi starting to hit a little bit of power spikes, he definitely has the items he needs, a fresh infusion, and his boots are ready to be activated.
All right, well, Hardik, he's finding a lot of damage onto Cole the Meek before this fight even kicks off, though. That's the dicey thing here. Mixi getting some good bounces in. He's starting to stack up that breaking point. Needs a few more to really do the damage. Here comes the Gauntlet. It is going to trap everyone inside. Echo Fox, they need to turn this one around. Mixi, he's in a very rough position, but he's finding the damage finally. He's got to burn through 3 members by himself, but with the bounces, it might be possible. Not quite. Gaspy, he's coming back in. Woo! Triple kill. Coming in, NRG, they find themselves an ace.
I mean, NRG making it happen, Captain. Like, they just took that fight. Echo Fox were clearly hesitant in the beginning of that fight, and they should have made the immediate call to disengage. Like, okay, but it feels like that's kind of the conversation sometimes a team gets into. You don't want to be having a conversation like where you're about to get engaged. They're like, do we stay? Do we go? And they get caught.
It's a very good point, and honestly, I felt like there were moments where I thought it was going to be turned around. Honestly, I thought that Mixi was going to turn it around. He had hit a decent amount of breaking point stacks.
Yep.
Then the fountain got popped, which I admit I had not realized wasn't used yet. So, like, I mean, That's the thing. Maybe NRG was in the same boat. Maybe they weren't sure about what was available from Echo Fox. Or sorry, Echo Fox wasn't sure what was available from NRG. Because they did seem like they were in that place between decisions. It's never where you want to be.
watch. I think Hardek has done such an incredible job of this game. We were talking earlier before the game started, and he was like, "I'm a little shaky right now. You know, I'm excited for this matchup." But he's come in. He's played incredibly well. When his on point actually connects, you see, like it lands on 2. He's chunking them down. That heal's going to time out, but Hardek's going to throw another on point. When he gets that advantage, that's when they go.
Yeah, and if you compare the cooldowns, right, Imperial Sigil much longer than the on-point cooldown, plus on-point's doing more and more and more because of the broken myths, so he really does get very strong. NRG, right now, they're pushing with the Kraken. Coldemik does not want that to happen. Everyone through the portal. Hardek, very low health on the back line, but here comes the Fountain. That's going to be the ultimate. Coming out, Coldemik stunned up in the corner. Delphi trying to make some kind of play happen here, but it's just him against 3 members of NRG. It's not going to be enough. NRG take down Echo Fox, and Echo Fox only managed to pick up 1 win in the Gauntlet. Misfits with the record for now.
All right, well, congratulations, NRG. I think a lot of people were standing in Echo Fox's corner before this match started here, giving them advantage for multiple reasons, but NRG, this is a squad as we move into spring season that everyone needs to keep their eyes on.
And you know what? I can't wait to